rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
The third and final presidential debate is behind us, and with a little over 2 weeks remaining before Election Day, Hillary Clinton holds a growing lead over Donald Trump in national polls. But if you drill down state by state, what's really interesting is that states that were once strongholds are now in play. A.B. Stoddard is a columnist for the polling site Real Clear Politics. Nice to see you. So what's the strategy for the next 2+ weeks that we have left?
Strategy for Hillary Clinton is to do no harm, hope that no damaging emails are revealed by the State Department releases to come and any kind of WikiLeaks dumps to come. For Donald Trump, I think if he wanted to grow his vote, and I don't think he's been behaving like he wants to grow his vote, it would be back on the teleprompter, back on the issues, focusing on reaching out to voters that he hasn't already won over.
Let's run through some states that I have found so interesting. We'll start with Ohio, which is always, we're always looking at Ohio all the time. What's the focus there, do you think? What's happening?
Well, it's looking very good for Donald Trump. It's the only battleground that's looking really kind of made for him. Interesting that the governor, John Kasich, is not a Trump fan, not a supporter. Rob Portman, the senator, is doing very well there in his reelection as a Republican who's sort of said he'll endorse Trump, but he's not really. So if you look at the actual Republican machine in the state, it's not so Trump friendly, though he's really holding a durable lead there. Durable meaning it's close, but it holds. And that's because you have a large population of white non-college voters and not a lot of Latino voters there. So it's a good state for Donald Trump.
A state where they do have a growing number of Latino voters is North Carolina. I think the number of available Latinos to vote, who knows if they will, but available to vote, is up 40% from the last election, presidential election. What's happening in North Carolina?
North Carolina is another sort of more higher educated group of voters and a changing place of transition. People are moving there from other places. And as you point out, a growing non-white population that's registered to vote. And that is a real boost for Hillary Clinton's chances there.
Yeah, it's changing very, very fast. Let's talk about Florida. Weirdly, it looks like Marco Rubio could be helping Donald Trump in Florida. And weirdly, of course, because we watched during the primaries the sort of clashing between the two of them.
Yes, Donald Trump really walloped him in that final Florida primary vote and sent Rubio packing. He's doing very well in the Senate race. He's doing very well with Latinos. Donald Trump is not doing well with the Latino vote in Florida, doing much worse than Mitt Romney, who won 39% of Latinos in the state and still lost the state. So it's going to be an interesting question of turnout, Soledad. Who turns out? Are they loyal Republicans who say, I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump's, but I'm going to go to the polls just to vote for Marco Rubio anyway? When they're there, do they leave it blank? Do they vote for Hillary and not tell their friends? It's really going to come down, I think, to people who are supporting Marco Rubio. Do they vote Trump? Do they not vote Trump? Do they vote Hillary? What happens to the people that are helping him hold a lead there?
Across the board, millennials, do they say meh or do they turn out? Latinos, I'm so interested to see if the Latinos, which really could make a big difference in this election, but I feel like I've said that year after year after year, and they don't really turn out. Will that change this year? Women voters, male no college. Talk to me about turnout.
Yeah, turnout is really going to make all the difference. I feel that all the polls could be wrong if the turnout turns out a certain way. For Donald Trump, for instance, with non-college white voters, that's his base. Are they all registered? If they haven't been voting recently, but they were once registered, are they going to show up? Do they know where their precinct is? Do they just like to go to a rally, or are they going to vote? The millennials who supported Bernie Sanders, they really don't like Hillary Clinton. They're coming around, but are they going to stick with her? If there's a bad email revealed in the weeks to come, and they become more disgusted, will they vote for Gary Johnson?
Much more likely to be following what's happening in WikiLeaks anyway.
Right. And it's really a threat to her in a race that could be won and lost on the margins in just 3 or 4 or 5 states to have people drop off from the Obama coalition. She really needs to keep them energized. African Americans, women who don't like Trump, do they like Hillary enough to come out for her, or are they just going to stay home? That'll really be the key question.
So you'll just be sprinting through the next 2.5 weeks. A.B. Stoddard is a columnist for the polling site Real Clear Politics. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.